Hello and welcome to Motocross des Nations for 1992, the World International Teams Championship, and this year history being made for the first time in 45 years, the event being held in the Southern Hemisphere, and it's going to be at the picturesque Cosy Creek Circuit in Manjimup, 320 kilometres south of Perth. With me in commentary, former world number 2 and the first Australian ever to win an international Grand Prix in motocross, Jeff Liles. And Jeff, a very exciting time here at Cosy Creek.
Yeah, we're all very excited. It's great to have this event in Australia for the very first time. All the teams are very, very happy with the circuit and conditions here at Manjimup, so I think we're in for a great event.
Well, the Americans looking for their 12th successive title, but it's an untested combination. The trio have never read at the Nations level before.
Yes, the Americans have taken the chance with a team that's not very well tested, but I believe that they're going to uphold the honour of the American people very, very well.
And finally, 3 Australians at last competing in front of a home field.
Yes, we've got high hopes for the Australian team. The boys have worked out well during the week, and we hope that we can get into the top 3.
Well, it's a great event, a very picturesque circuit. Let's go now to the opening moto. And in this first moto, we've got the 500 and 125cc classes. There are 32 riders on the grid, 16 nations, 2 riders from each nation. And what it means is the winner of this race gets 1 point in each class, the second rider gets 2 points, and so on down the line. There are 3 motos all up. Every CC class will ride twice, and the team with the lowest aggregate points after the third moto will be the new world champions for 1992. An impressive sight, 32 riders, and away they go.
Looks to be Jean-Michel Bayle, number 61 from France, in the lead on the 500cc machine.
And in the practice round, he's scorched around the track in the fastest time there, number 61 in front, just a tick under 2 minutes and 8 seconds for the lap. He blitzed the field, and there he is, the 23-year-old from France, Jean-Michel Bayle.
Jean-Michel's got to be feeling very comfortable about this in the lead. Doesn't have to follow the rooster tails of the other bikes, so he's looking good.
Second place, number 13 there, is Kurt Mickel. Also on a 500cc bike representing Great Britain, but Bayle at the moment opening up a handy little, probably 15 to 20 metre lead.
Yes, I think Jean-Michel's going to want to go fairly hard in the first few laps, try to establish a break over the other riders, just in case he has a problem with a fall or the lap rider later in the race. So I think he's going to go quite hard here in the opening laps.
And that's exactly how Jean-Michel Bayle raced his first moto, by going very fast early and setting up a good break to put the pressure on all those behind him.
Next year he's going onto the road to race 250cc class. So the last time the international motocross public will see Jean-Michel Bayle on the sand. Fantastic crowd here at the picturesque Cosy Creek Circuit amongst the tall timber in the southwest of WA, in excess of 15,000, probably nudging 20. We see them there, a Swedish flag. They're all supporting someone in this race, representing Australia in this first moto. Jason Marshall, number 28, on the Kawasaki 500. And we've got Kim Ashkenazi, a real youngster, 18 years of age, on the Suzuki 125. Round they come now. Billy Liles there in 4th place, so he's well up there, keeping in mind that America has to try and defend their title here. Also, Jeff Emig coming through on the Yamaha 125.
It was at this point of moto number 1 that the young American Jeff Emig was showing a taste of things to come. Riding in the smaller 125cc class, Emig proved to be a rider of extreme ability by keeping most of the bigger 500cc bikes behind him.
Jeff, how much does horsepower play a part?
It plays a pretty major role here. It's a very sandy circuit in the area with the uphills, and it really saps the power of the machine.
So Jeff Emig performing very creditably, taking that into mind.
Yes, Jeff Emig is leading the 125 portion of the race. He's going extremely well. He's got probably half the 500 build behind him, and he's on a bike that's half the capacity, so he's going very, very well.
And there's Jason Marshall leading the charge for Australia. He's the man that's been given the ride in the 500cc this year, Jeffrey.
Yes, you can see by the look of Jason's bike, he's been behind, he's getting a lot of dirt thrown up at him, and obviously he's going to have to work really hard to push himself to the front of the pack. He's also got the Belgian rider, Stefan Everts, behind him, pushing him hard.
Keeping in mind, of course, that Stefan Everts is riding the 125cc Suzuki. And as Jeff mentioned, Jason Marshall has had a lot of mud thrown up on the front of his bike, which indicates that there are a fair few in the field ahead of him. Now there goes Jean-Michel Bale. You can see how big a lead there he's got on the second man, Kurt Nickel. Quite a comprehensive lead. The fourth man going through there, Billy Liles on the Honda 500 from America. And now a big gap. It'll be interesting to see just how far back Jeff Emig is on the 125cc Yamaha. And in fact, there is Emig there, so he's lying in 6th position overall. That's a very creditable performance on a machine with a small capacity. Jeff Emig doing very well on the 125. This first moto, 2 classes in action, 500 and 125cc. And at the moment, Emig is leading the way on the smaller capacity machine.
You can see Jeff using the very limits of the circuit there, trying to find a smooth line on the track. Generally speaking, the central parts or the central lines on the circuit get very bumpy, and now he's looking to the edges of the circuit to find a smoother line.
Certainly the course being dug up now. Kurt Nickel now is still charging up on Jean-Michel Bale. And in fact, Kurt Nickel is just in front there of Stefan Everts. No, it's Billy Liles in actual fact, from the United States. So Billy Liles on the 500cc Honda. And a great dice here. This would be second versus third. And at the moment, it's the British rider, Kurt Nickel, who's out in front.
Billy Liles trying every trick in the book to get around Kurt Nickel. You can see that he's riding opposite lines on the track. That's to avoid the rooster tail.
They also lie second and third in the 500cc World Championship for 1992. So they've seen a lot of each other at close quarters throughout the year. And here they're almost shoulder to shoulder. As Jeff mentioned, they take different lines. Liles went low there and he's got through.
This is a really backwards and forwards fight here. You can notice the two riders riding different lines on the circuit. Liles just clearing the vision on his goggles. He's been following Nickel, and there's been a lot of dirt flying up into his face, so he's trying to take this opportunity now that he's got by, clear his vision, and then try and maintain the lead over Kurt Nickel.
Billy Liles now up in second spot. So a great start for the United States, looking for their 12th successive Motocross de Nations title, because Jeff Emig is leading the 125cc and Billy Liles currently second on the big bikes, the 500s.
The American team had obviously worked out a very good tactical race. Billy Liles on the 500cc bike is enjoying a great battle here with the brilliant Englishman Kurt Nickel, but he knew exactly where Jeff Emig was lying on the 125cc machine, so he had to go hard and stay in front of Nickel to try and get the best possible result for his team. That was the way it worked out at the finish of this, the first moto.
Billy Liles finding going a bit tough there. Kurt Nickel is coming up on the inside. They lap a back marker there. Liles taking the outside of the track again. But Kurt Nickel is certainly within striking distance, only about 3 bike lengths adrift.
Yes, we can see the difference there, Glenn, with the lap rider coming into play there, holding up Liles, and Nickel was able to close in again on Liles.
In the straight line there, Liles trying to urge every bit of speed he can out of his bike.
Notice Billy just taking his hand off right then. Probably his helmet's shaking around a little bit, and he just took his hand off the bars quite casually in the air there and just moved his helmet up into a more comfortable position.
He really is charging the back of the bike, fishtailing around the place. Slowly he is edging away there from Kurt Nickel. But still the race leader, the Frenchman, Jean-Michel Bale. Now Stefan Everts there we saw a glance of, number 6. He is on the 125 Suzuki. And there is Jeff Emig, also on the 125. 28 going through there was Jason Marshall, the Australian. He's riding on the 500cc class. There's Emig. And there is Everts. Gee, it's close here, Jeff, 1 and 2 for the 125cc.
Yes, I think Stefan Everts has put on an incredible charge. He was quite far back early in the race and has really made some ground up on Emig. Stefan Everts is on the Suzuki machine, and it's a very powerful 125 bike. It's noted as one of the top machines in its class. He's done a superb job just to ride up through the field, through all the other 500cc machines, and now he's on the tail of Jeff Emig, number 3 on the Yamaha.
Stefan Everts, what an exciting prospect, just 18 years of age.
Yes, Stefan's actually come back from a fairly serious injury this year. He had his spleen removed after a serious accident in the Grand Prix earlier in the year, but he's come back very well. His father was actually a world champion himself, and Stefan Everts is a second-generation motocross rider, and he hasn't let down the family name one little bit.
Yes, Stefan's father, Harry, in fact, winning the World Championship on 4 occasions. And Stefan Everts is catching up on Jeff Emig. Everts, at 18 years of age, will no doubt have a strong chance to emulate his famous father in the years ahead.
It's interesting to note that Stefan's father, Harry, was also one of the team members in the Belgian teams, and they were a dominant force in motocross, and his father's actually been in some of the nation's winning teams himself.
Belgium has won the title 9 times. England leads the way with 15, but in second place, the United States, who have won 11 consecutively, and there's one man at the moment who's trying desperately to make it 12. That's Jeff Emig, number 3 there, riding the Yamaha 125 for the United States.
Jeff Emig down to the main straight section of the circuit. It's the only part of the track where the riders really have a chance to have a little bit of a breather. Other than that, it's back up onto the foot pegs and stand up and go hard all the way.
So Emig leading the 125cc class, and there is the man that's leading the 500cc class, and the man that has the rest of the field behind him, Jean-Michel Bayle.
Well, looks like Jean-Michel's already got some lap riders to contend with.
That's Philippe de Pasquier there from France, number 54, and we see how effortlessly there Jean-Michel Bayle just scoots by. Remy Van Ries on a Honda 125, and they're almost shoulder to shoulder, and we see this so often in motocross, Jeff, where they take completely different lines on the course.
Yes, that's right. You see the riders switching lines to avoid the dirt that's thrown off from the other machines. And also they're exploring the outer limits of the track, trying to find a smoother line, a faster way around. Everts getting a little bit untidy there. He seems to have lost a little bit of rhythm. The bike was jumping very high in the front end, struggling to maintain control.
So these two at the moment, Van Ries and Everts, are slowly gaining on Jeff Emig. The Aussie is slowing. There is a sign there that's been held out by someone in the pits. There's Van Ries.
Remy Van Ries, I believe, a little bit untidy there. That deep sand is really throwing the guys off balance. He's done a fine job to get past Stefan Everts. This is really a surprise. Remy is a new man on the Grand Prix circuit from Holland, but he's definitely making a name for himself here at Manjimup. Really launching the bike hard off that jump, taking quite a hard landing.
But still, Jean-Michel Bayle, that is an incredible lead, Jeff, for a race of only 30 minutes duration.
It really is amazing. These other riders must be feeling quite frustrated that they haven't been able to hold on to Jean-Michel's pace.
Well, what he did in practice, he's emulated in the big event, because he had the fastest time in the 500cc ahead of the great Belgian rider, the 5-time world champion Georges Jobet, and he was some 3 seconds ahead of him in practice, and he's just continued on blitzing the field when he's come into the main event. See the crowd urging him on there, Jean-Michel Bayle. What a great talent. He'll be lost to the world of motocross at the end of this particular event, Motocross des Nations this year. Next year, onto the road, where he'll ride in the 250cc class. I believe as yet, Jeff, he hasn't signed up with a team.
No, that's right. Jean-Michel actually rode the French Grand Prix in the 250 class, and he qualified for the final race. He wasn't quite as successful in his first ride as he'd like to have been, but I think Jean-Michel was just feeling it out. But he's very, very keen to move into the road next year. I'm sure he's going to do quite well.
There's Siegfried Bauer, the man from Austria, who had to pull out of the race. And there is Kurt Nickel from Great Britain. He is lying second at the moment on the KTM 500 machine. And certainly he is a long, long way adrift of Jean-Michel Bayle.
You see some of the mechanics there with the pit boards. Kurt Nickel again weaving his through the lap riders.
There's Kurt Nickel lying second overall in this event. Magnificent conditions here for motocross at Manjimup today. Rain on the practice day preceding, but today overcast, but no real threat of rain at this stage. And as you can see, the track is in very good condition, particularly dry.
You see John Michelle timing the tabletop jump there perfectly. Just bringing the bike down on a slight angle on the front wheel.
Heading up towards the top part of the circuit, and he has this race in his keeping.
This Manjimup circuit really is quite demanding from a rider's point of view.
This is his fourth motocross des Nations for Jean-Michel Bayle, but he hasn't ridden in one since 1988.
Yes, John Michel's been concentrating primarily on the American circuit over the past few years. He hasn't been an included rider in the French team.
And there we see Bayle, he's well out in front. What a magnificent performance. We'll find out later how his teammate in this particular event has gone. The Frenchman riding on the 125cc is Frédéric Bolly on a Yamaha. But certainly they're going to get top points in the 500cc class in the opening moto. He's eased right back, Jean-Michel Bayle. Look at him, he's almost in slow motion. But he knows he's got this one in the bag.
John Michel's just taking it very smooth and easy here. There's nothing to risk now, he's got a good lead. No pressure whatsoever.
I suppose by having a measured last two laps, it saves the problem of perhaps clipping the back wheel of a back marker or being taken into a bad line and having a fall that you certainly don't need in the dying stages.
That's right, Glenn. Also, I think John Michel, the way he's been riding lately, is quite used to this front position.
There he is, number 61. Look at that number plate. You can tell that he hasn't had riders in front of him almost from the outset. In fact, we saw him get a great jump. Magnificent start in that line of 32 to kick off the opening moto, and he's led from go to woe. And here he comes now, greeted by the checkered flag. So Jean-Michel Bayle winning the 500cc class in the opening moto. To the points table after the first moto, the United States leading the way there with 3 points, courtesy of Jeff Emig and Billy Liles. Belgium in second place with a total of 6. France, Jean-Michel Bayle, 1 point there in their total of 8, and Australia lying 7th overall with a total of 16 points. Well, Jean-Michel, a great start for you.
Yeah, it cannot be better. I got a very good start, and I pulled away from the race, so I have a very good lead, so I'm very confident for the next one, and I hope I can take both moto today.
You're obviously well informed during the race because you pulled up very slowly near the end, took it very cautiously.
Yeah, first I got a very good start, so I was trying to ride, not to ride too hard in the first couple laps, and I was watching who was behind me, and after I tried to do the best as I can, and I was riding very fast, a lot faster than the other guys, so I won the race.
Well, Jeff, congratulations, a great start, a great dice with Stefan Everts.
Yeah, it was short, but it was all right. Like I came out on top this time. Like that's what I plan. What to do the next time. Put the United States on top.
Well, Billy Liles rode very well on the 500cc. You and your teammates have never ridden here before in des Nations. A lot of pressure on you.
Not as much as I thought. Because I've been able, to block it out. And Jeff Emig, he does what he's got to do. And that's go win the 125 class, and that's that's the best that I can hope for. And then if I do that, then I'll be happy.
It was the brilliant Frenchman Bayle who completely dominated Moto #1 on his 500cc Honda. After gating brilliantly, Bayle proved to be in a class of his own in this race. The battle for second and third was a good one, with Billy Liles grabbing second over Kurt Nickel. Young American Jeff Emig dominated the 125cc class to record a great win and so give the USA a great start to the Motocross des Nations.
So people from all over the world backing their teams today here in Manjimup in the southwest of Western Australia. And the second moto about to get underway. The first time we've seen the 250cc class at Manjimup this time round, and the 125's back in action again for the second moto. Once again, we'll probably see a dice in the 125s between Jeff Emig of the United States and also Stefan Everts from Belgium. There we see a line of 32, 2 men from each of the 16 nations competing here, 125 and 250cc. As the throttles are opened up and away they go.
Looks like Pedro Tractor, number 8, leading the field there.
The start of the second moto proved to be a very good one for the Englishman Rob Herring. Not so fortunate was American Jeff Emig, who crashed in the first corner, leaving him back in last place when he rejoined the field. This incident fired the American to great heights, and it was one of the most memorable rides of the 1992 Motocross Donation, as we will see a little later.
The French rider Yves Demaria, number 62 on the Suzuki, in second position, chasing very hard. Bike sliding around an awful lot there, so he's really pushing the machine as hard as it can go. Herring very familiar with the Manjimup circuit, experienced earlier in the year in the Manjimup 15,000 event.
Yes, in actual fact, he won the 250cc class in last year's Manjimup 15,000, so he certainly is a man that knows the circuit, and he's riding it accordingly at the moment.
Third place on the Yamaha, Marnik Bavowitz from Belgium.
And we should mention too, Jeff, somewhat of a sensation before this second moto, with the South Africans being disqualified for failing to get to the start in the prescribed time.
Yes, very important to be ready for the start of the race. If you're not in the Parc Fermé area at a certain time, it's just a matter of pack up the bike and go home.
We can see the course at the moment is becoming drier by the minute, and the back wheels really starting to dig in on landing.
Herring's looking quite strong at this stage. Fairly heavy set sort of guy. Probably weighs about 95 kilos. He's a very weighty boy. Has plenty of strength to throw the bike around, and that could play in his favour as the circuit is cutting up quite rough.
And he certainly is a man in contrast to the build of Jean-Michel Bale, who streeted the field in the opening moto. But Rob Herring now building up quite a comprehensive lead.
Yes, Rob Herring on the number 14 machine from the Great Britain. Riding very well. Not quite the fluid style that Jean-Michel Bale has. More the aggressor on the machine, tending to manhandle the bike a lot more. The track is really cutting up rough now. You can see the bike moving around an awful lot beneath the rider.
Gee, Herring now almost emulating the great Jean-Michel Bale. Is building up a very commanding lead early on in this second moto.
Rob Herring has actually spent a lot of time in South Africa before he migrated to the Great Britain.
We can see there in that shot just how big a lead Herring has at the moment, and he's continuing to build. Great Britain coming into this moto in 4th position overall. United States leading with 3 points, Belgium 6, France 8. And if Rob Herring can stay where he is now, Great Britain will march up that leadership board by the end of this second moto.
It's very important for Rob to have his British teammate James Dobb backing him up on the 125 machine.
And here we have one of the Aussies coming through the field. You can see by the number plate on the front there that it's taken a little bit of a hammering from bikes out in front. And he's charging through the field, but he's got a long and a lot of ground to make up. That's Dale Britton, riding his first race for the Nations in 1992. He sat out the first moto, And Jeff, you've had a lot to do with the Australian team in the week leading up to this event, a little bit of coaching and telling the boys what they can expect in this sort of international competition.
Yes, I have. I've worked with the guys all week, testing their machines and also just helping with their technique, trying to get them ready. Dale's been performing quite well in recent months. Had some pretty good success up north recently in some Supercross events. So he's been tuning up as much as he can for this event.
He's up on the 250cc bike today, but earlier this year, here at the Manjimup 15,000, he came second in the 125cc class. Yes,
Dale, we felt that Dale would be a better inclusion on the 250 bike in the team. The Yamaha is not quite the strongest in the 125 class, so we put him up into the 250, hoping that he'd be a better selection.
See him up out of the saddle there, as you see from most of the riders. They don't get much respite throughout this 30 minutes plus 2 laps. There's Kim Ashkenazi, the 18-year-old, on the Suzuki 125. He's having his second and last race this year in Donations, keeping in mind that each rider rides in 2 of the 3 races. And Kim Ashkenazi fighting hard at the moment for Australia. Ashkenazi just 18 years of age, so a very big future ahead of him, Jeff.
Yes, Kim's got a good future. He's already ridden a few races in Italy last year with the Rinaldi team there, the Suzuki factory team. And Kim's looking forward to moving over to the European circuit within a year or so. His father is an excellent race mechanic. Helps him an awful lot with the setup of the bikes. He also has his own practice track home in New South Wales, where his father's built Supercross style jumps for him to practice on. And now we have the leader, Rob Herring, number 14, moving it back onto the main straight section of the track. See the spectators in the background there.
Well, they're being treated as some one-way traffic here at Manjimup today, with Jean-Michel Bale streeting the field in the first moto, and Rob Herring is doing likewise in the second. He's starting to reel in the back markers now.
There's Stephen Evans right there. Something seems to have gone wrong with the machine, possibly a clash. Really can see the despair on him. He feels like he's really let down his team. Obviously very, very upset boy as he was going so well.
That is a very sad blow to
Once again, the 125cc class was proving to be very exciting, with the young Belgian rider Stefan Everts pouring on the pressure. Tragedy struck when his machine suffered a flat rear tyre, thus ending his Motocross Donations aspirations for 1992.
He's just going to sit down. He's very upset.
Meanwhile, back in the front, Rob Herring. No doubt he'll get a glimpse of that as he rides around the circuit. But Stefan Everts in a different class. He's in the 125cc. Herring at the head of the big bunch of 32 riders in this second moto is on a 250cc machine from the Honda manufacturers. And the riders really do use that seat to the maximum. They go back, they go forward. There's a lot of balance and control required to get around this circuit, Jeff.
Yes, you can see the riders also moving the upper body, leaning it in. Just subtle movements on the bike can make a great deal of difference in the way the bike corners. Trying to get the weight over the rear wheel now, lighten the front up. You see him approaching the turn now. He's got his head forward. Getting a little bit off balance there. He's got his leg hanging out virtually as an outrigger. You see it requires an awful lot of balance just to keep the bike going in a straight line. Here's Remy Van Ries, number 9 on the Kawasaki 125. Remy's the other Netherlands rider on the 125. He's done very well to date at the Manjimup circuit. He's been a top performer.
Surprise packet in the 125cc class was the young Dutchman Remy Van Ries. He came to Western Australia a virtual unknown, but left leaving an indelible mark on the minds of all motocross fans.
That he does best in. Really seen working the front of the bike there. Having a bit of a look over his shoulder, possibly at the other side of the track to see who's coming up behind him as he was flying through the air over that jump. Back with our race leader here, Rob Herring, onto the main straight. Looks to me as this Marnik Vivowitz, I can see him in the background, possibly closing in on Rob Herring.
Englishman Rob Herring was going along well out in front at this point, but the exciting Belgian Monique Bavowitz was starting to close rapidly. Unfortunately, Herring came down and that handed the lead to Bavowitz, who then was being pressured by American Mike LaRocco.
And there's Monique Bavowitz in front now, we believe. He may have gone past Rob Herring. If that's the case, then Herring has obviously had some problems, because last time we saw the leaders in the 250cc class, Herring was still some 10 or 15 bike lengths in front. So Bavowitz from Belgium, keeping in mind that his teammate we saw earlier, a distraught Stefan Everts on the infield after his Suzuki had some form of technical problem.
It's quite sensational. I believe Rob Herring has gone down. You can see Monique pulling on his goggles there just to clear his vision on the roll-off system on his goggles. There's Rob Herring. Great Britain, obviously Rob's gone down, so strike of fortune there for the Belgian team.
Now what do you do in this situation if you're Rob Herring, Jeff? There's not a great deal of time left in the race, probably 5 or 6 laps. Do you try to make a charge or just be happy where you are?
Well, I think Rob Herring's not going to be happy where he is. He's going to have to try and charge as hard as he possibly can. I believe that's what he'd have going through his mind. With a bit of luck, possibly he can make up a place or two.
So a bitter blow for Rob Herring. We saw Jean-Michel Bale in the first moto from France lead from go to woe. Herring was doing likewise, but took a tumble. That's allowed Bavowitz from Belgium through. Of course, that's always the state of play in motocross. We see Herring go high on the circuit there and get rid of 2 machines of smaller capacity. He's really charging through the field, but he'd be a man with a lot of thoughts going through his mind at the moment. One of them, no doubt, disappointment. And Rob Herring's actually down to third as number 27 there, Mikkel Caprani from Denmark, has a little bit of a altercation with the corner. He's back in the race, but he too has dropped 4 or 5 positions as the bike is getting a little bit out of control.
You can see the bike spinning around there. He just accelerated way too hard coming into that turn. The crowd sometimes can play an important role in motivating a rider out there. The crowd support behind you.
Well, we can see the gap.
Helps you just get that little bit extra.
Now LaRocco has overtaken a back marker there, and the distance now we can see the man there in screen is Bavowitz, and LaRocco is closing very, very quickly.
See the American style LaRocco jumping quite far on the downhill there. They're coming into the sand section, and he's closed in about 10 to 15 metres just in that last lap.
So there'll be 2 laps remaining this time when they come round to greet the judges in the main straight. And this race is certainly in contrast to the anti-climax we had with Jean-Michel Bale streeting the field in the opening moto.
Mike LaRocco there on the step-up jump. Very suited to the American riders. It's a Supercross style jump. Monique Bavowitz. Monique will be getting quite nervous right now. He knows that Mike LaRocco is behind him. He can probably hear the bike behind him. And riders tend to get a little bit nervous in this situation and make mistakes. Monique not quite as fluid as he was earlier in the race. I think he knows Mike's there. He's getting nervous. Not really thinking about where he's going, but he's thinking about who's behind him.
LaRocco just struggling to bridge the gap. He's gone round for probably about 500 or 600 metres now without being able to close the gap we can see there. Now they're into the home straight, and they have 2 laps to go.
You can really see the Belgian team cheering on Monique Bavowitz, obviously letting him know he's got to speed up. You can see Bavowitz taking a good look behind at Mike LaRocco, so he knows he's there. He wants to check for himself. He's got the signal on the pit board, but he wants to make sure what the distance is there. See the 2-lap signal there?
There's LaRocco. He's making his charge. Has he got enough time to be able to bring Bavowitz back into the field? That gap is narrowing all the time.
LaRocco's got to start closing in now. He's probably looking at Monique Bavowitz, thinking about possibly where he would be faster on the circuit, and then he's going to make his move possibly on the last lap to get by. He's obviously studying his lines, maybe even waiting for a lap rider to get in the way, and then possibly he can seize the moment and move on by Monique Bavowitz from Belgium. You can see the blue flag there. That's given to the lap riders, giving them a signal to move out of the way. You've got some faster riders behind you and you're going to be lapped.
Now look at the gap now. They're almost side by side.
Incredible stuff now. It's getting really exciting.
Bavoit's still out in front. LaRocco making a charge.
LaRocco working extremely hard in this Sandley section.
And again the gap goes out. Gee, at one stage there it looked like LaRocco was right in the slipstream, but Bavoit's pulled out a couple of big moves, and now we see the margin out again to about 20 metres.
Some of the riders taking different lines to each other, and that's why you can see the gap changing. Well, LaRocco getting a little bit untidy there. It just takes one little mistake like that, and you can drop back 10 or so metres, and that's just enough to give Marnik Bavoit's a little bit of breathing room.
So
coming around the final turn now on the straightaway. They've got the one lap board now. LaRocco's charging hard. You'll see the teams in the background there giving him the message, telling him to get going.
So LaRocco knows that he's got about 2 minutes and just under 2 kilometres to try and pinch the lead here from the Belgian rider Manjimup Australia.
LaRocco's got to make a decision now whether he wants to take the chance and get around Bavoit into the lead, or possibly just play it safe for a second place finish.
Well, he's certainly closing the gap now. LaRocco almost into the slipstream of Bavoit. Again, Bavoit pulls away.
LaRocco jumping very far that time. He's pushing extra hard. We've got a lap rider coming up ahead, so this could be the moment that Mike LaRocco is looking for. Fortunately, the rider moves out of the way, very sensible on his behalf. You can see the blue flag waving again. LaRocco very close now, huge jump.
And he's going to take the lead here, is he? He goes right up high on the course. Bavoit goes down on the inside, and LaRocco almost getting past. It's almost mudguard to mudguard at the moment.
LaRocco very aggressive. The American style is to be aggressive. You can see him switching lines inside, outside. He's going to try a huge jump again. Half a lap to go now. Mike LaRocco has to make a move now.
Well, Bavoit now is pulling away again. He just seems to always have the answer when Mike LaRocco makes a surge and back again to around a 20-metre gap.
Bavoit has a slight lead now. Possibly he can hold it to the finish.
Yes, perhaps Mike LaRocco may feel that he has played all his cards now, and it might be wise just to sit back and be content with the 2 points per second. And it appears that's what he's doing, because Bavoit now is out to about a 25-metre lead. And there he goes into the main straight, the checkered flag for Bavoit and Mike LaRocco second. So United States there in that second moto, 2 second placings to give them an aggregate of 4 points. Sweden doing particularly well with 7, Great Britain with 8, going down there to Denmark in 6th position with 15. Well, Billy, your teammates did well in the second moto, and you're well placed going into the final race.
It's looking good so far. The track's getting really rough, and you know, I owe a lot to my teammates to where we are right now. One of them was down in the first turn. He came all the way back to second. And LaRocco, you know, he was pushing one of the world's best sand riders. So I think we got a strong effort going. And with good, smart rides, we can stay on top.
Now, in the overall standings, the United States have 7 points, but it's very cluttered behind them. Great Britain on 17, France 18, Sweden 18, and Belgium on 20. But at this stage, the United States looking very good.
Without doubt, the battle between Bavoit and LaRocco was one of the highlights of the 1992 Motocross de Nation. The pressure on LaRocco was immense, and he came through for his country with flying colours. Again, Jeff Emig was brilliant, recording a second place in the 125cc class behind Remy van Ries from the Netherlands. Rob Herring recovered brilliantly, working his way back up through the field to finish a creditable third. It was unfortunate we didn't get to see the best of Stephen Everts due to mechanical problems.
So it all comes down to this final moto, the 250 and 500cc classes. 32 riders across one line. Number 29 there was Dale Britton, riding in the 250cc class for Australia. They're almost set to go here at the Cozy Creek circuit. America, as we mentioned, coming in with a commanding lead. As we saw in the first two motos, anything can happen, and away they go. This first corner is crucial, and Jean-Michel Bale, the man who blitzed the ball in the first moto, has gone around in first place.
Looks like Bale's dropped back there, I can see. Billy Liles, number 1 for the United States. Bale seems to have made a mistake in the first turn and dropped back a little bit. Kurt Nickel, number 13 on the KTM for Great Britain.
And Edward Everton out there in front, and there's a man with some problems, Bernd Eckenbach, and he's had a very, very black day here at Cozy Creek.
Edward Everton gained a great start in this moto after having a disappointing first race in the series. The bike refused to start for him in the first moto, preventing him from competing in that event. Although he didn't figure in the major placings, Everton proved to be a very exciting racer to the large crowd.
And in third position, I should say, and Billy Liles from the United States lying fourth.
Yes, Liles well placed for this moto.
Now Kurt Nickel has pinched the lead from Edward Everton. So Jean-Michel Bale not getting the start that we would have expected, Jeff.
No, not quite the start. He looked like he had the lead going into the first turn, but I think he just went into the turn a bit too hard, drifted wide, and that allowed some of the other riders to get through underneath him. Interesting scenario here in this race. We seem to have all 500cc machines. Rob Herring there in between George Jobet. So Herring is up there on the 250 for Great Britain.
And there he is, number 4, a living legend in the sport of motocross. And keep in mind, this is his last ever international event. A 5-times world champion, George Jobet, number 4, riding the Honda 500cc for Belgium. And he has been one of the most classy riders in the world of motocross in the last decade.
That's for sure. George Jobet has done all that there is to do in the sport of motocross. He had a few quiet years about 3 years ago, and he really got his act together in these last 2 years, taking world championships both years. So he's done a superb job for Belgium.
He's 31 years of age. He's won the 500cc championship this year, also last year and in 1987. And in the 250cc class, he won in 1980 and 1983.
There he is. The Cozy Creek starting to rough up. You can see the bikes really bucking around as they accelerate out of that turn down the main straight. Kurt Nickel still in front, number 13 on the KTM. Edward Everton in second place. And the Frenchman, Jean-Michel Bale, in third place.
Jean-Michel Bale appeared to find the going tough in this final 500cc moto, in direct contrast to his total dominance in the first race. Kurt Nickel showed the fans his world class, as did American Billy Liles once again.
What we saw in the previous two motos, where we saw riders really breaking away. Herring did it in the second, Jean-Michel Bale in the first, but it's a very different reflection in the final race.
Yes, very much so in the final race. You can see how important that start is in the first race. Jean-Michel Bale was able to get the start and then establish a good lead early in the race, but it's not the case now. He's back in about third place, and he's going to have to really struggle to get by Kurt Nickel and the other guys that are ahead of him. So that start really is important. You can see, making a little bit of a mistake there.
There's a group of 3 there following Nickel. In there is Edward Everton, number 7.
Look at Rob Herring on the outside there, just it was straight by there.
There's Billy Liles in second place, number 1, riding for the United States team, and they're in search of their 12th consecutive Motocross des Nations championship.
Rob Herring now chasing Billy Liles. Herring has come really much from the back of the pack.
Rob Herring showed everyone his sheer determination by pressuring them on his 250cc machine. Running in fourth at this point, it was an amazing performance by the flying Englishman.
Weight will be much easier to handle, so Herring could be a man that could play a major factor in this race.
There's Billy Lyle on the left of screen and Kurt Nickel on the right. There's the gap between first and second. Again, we see them taking very different lines. Kurt Nickel still leading the way.
Billy Liles, second place, chasing Kurt Nickel. Now if Liles can get past Nickel, that's going to improve the chances for the United States. Liles is looking good in this race. He's closing in on Nicol. He looks to be in quite good control. He's just going to bide his time in second place and look for an opportunity to get by Kurt when it's safe to do so. I don't think he's going to push him out of the way and risk any chances now for the United States. He's just going to try and play it as safe as he possibly can.
Edward Everton in third place, Rob Herring in fourth.
Yes, John Michelle Bale looks to have gone down on one of the back circuits of the parts of the track. He's up and running again, and now he's got to charge through the field, so it's not a good start for him in this moto.
Well, France Malang in third place overall coming into this third moto. Now we'll see how good the great man is, because he's got a lot of work ahead of him to get it back up to the leaders. There we are, back at the front. Kurt Nicol dicing there with Billy Liles. Nicol's still out in front. And as you mentioned, Jeff, I think Billy Liles is not going to force it. He'll just wait for an opening.
Yes, I think so. There's nothing really to risk here now for Billy Liles. He's just going to make a nice, safe pass, I believe. He will want to get past. He wants to get ahead of... Oh, you can see Liles is down. He's made a mistake. Lost a bit of concentration there. Picking up the machine. Two other riders through on the inside. Jobay's gone past Liles. He's up quite quickly. It was just a simple little fall. He didn't hurt himself.
Everton getting through as well. And so too did Rob Herring. Now Jobay dicing here.
Oh, Jobay hits the fence. See Liles being quite aggressive there. You can see Billy Liles on the inside there. Jobay on the outside. Now Liles' bike slides sideways. Jobay hits the tyre and he's off into the fence. Disastrous for George Jobay in his last ride. Meanwhile at the front, Kurt Nicol on the KTM, number 13 for Great Britain, doing an excellent job. Seems to establish a little bit of a lead now with the demise of Billy Liles, making that error back there in the sandy section on the track. So Kurt Nicol's looking quite good out front. He's got a little bit of breathing room now.
Well, we mentioned in the opener that anything could happen. The United States looked good, but who knows at this stage, early stages in the third moto, and the Americans, Billy Liles, putting on the pressure, and it hasn't paid off for him in the early stages. There's Edward Everton, the man lying second from Holland. He too has got past the back marker and continues his
Edward Everton continued to impress the fans at this point by running a strong second behind Kurt Nicol and was starting to close on the race leader.
Everton riding a 500cc Kawasaki. Doing everything he can to try and peg back Kurt Nicol from Great Britain.
You can see the gap there now as Kurt Nicol sweeps through the left-hand turn there. Edward Everton in chase.
Edward Everton riding a 500cc bike today, but he was actually third in this year's 250cc World Championship.
Edward Everton had a fairly successful season in the 250 Grand Prix, winning a few motos throughout the course of the season, so he's had quite a good year.
And there's our leader, Kurt Nicol, and we can see behind there Everton. So Everton is closing.
You can really note there that Kurt Nicol's using the extreme outside line on the track there to try and find a smoother line, trying to conserve his energy in this race.
There he is, coming towards the end of the main straight. We'll get an idea of the gap here. There goes Nicol, and coming into screen there is Everton. Get an idea there of just how cut up the track is here at Cozy Creek. Had 3 motos today, but of course in between there have been some national riders and some youngsters out on the course, so it's certainly taken a hammering for about 8 or 9 hours today.
Nicol seems to be maintaining about a 3-second lead over Everton.
Shot of the crowd here amongst the tall trees. Now there is the 5 times world champion Georges Jobay in his last outing in international motocross, retiring at the end of this particular race, aged 31. He won the 500cc championship this year and also last year and in 1987. Oh, and there's one rider who's decided he'll take a shortcut, number 14. That's Rob Herring from Great Britain.
Rob Herring will have to be careful about cutting the course there. The rule is that if you run off the course, you have to return in the same place without cutting any distance off the course. So he'll have to hope and pray that another rider will not protest him on that there.
Georges Jobet, this year he's won the German and French Grand Prix, and in fact he is the member of the winning team from Belgium back in 1980, and he is the only man here that is a member of a winning Motocross des Nations team, because the Americans, who have been dominant for the last 11 years, have 3 new riders this time round.
Yes, that's right, Glenn. Motocross is a young man's sport, and it's quite uncommon to see a man of Georges Jobet's age, which is 31, which doesn't sound very old to many people, but most motocross riders tend to be in their prime around about at 20 to 24 years of age. So he is the old man of motocross.
So he's the only man here as he goes under the start-finish line to have savoured victory in a Motocross des Nations teams event. And that was with Belgium back in 1980. Here he is 12 years later, still going round in what is his last international motocross. There's Kurt Nickel. He's a household name at the moment in Australia because he's led from almost start to finish in this final moto. And there we see the flags of the nations competing here, 16 in all. Shows the diversity of competition. South Africa is here, Denmark is here, Germany, Austria, Czechoslovakia, and on the left there we see the flag of New Zealand.
Kurt Nickel weaving his way through some lap traffic.
That must always be a perennial problem, getting into the latter stages of the race. Jeff is coming up and having to get past the back marker successfully.
Yes, they can really pose a problem, and actually I can see right here now, coming on the screen, Kurt Nickel, Edwin Evertson has moved up a lot closer. I think Nickel has slowed down in the traffic, and you can see Edwin Evertson coming into view there in second place. Billy Liles, third place, I believe, on the Honda for the United States. Kurt Nickel riding superb now, but he's got a little pressure there from Edwin Evertson, so Evertson hasn't given up here. He hasn't given up the fight for Holland.
We see Everton, number 7, in the foreground, the leader, number 13, Kurt Nickel from Great Britain. That gap significantly closing, and that was a matter of trouble there for Kurt Nickel trying to get past one of the back markers. He was held up, and that's allowed Everton to almost halve the gap. And of course, on a windy circuit like this, when you take one of those hairpin bends, Jeff, you always know where your competition is.
Yes, that's right. You can glance over your shoulder and watch the other rider coming down the hill or on the other parallel straight of the track, and just really see for yourself what the difference is between yourself and the rider following behind.
Now there's Kurt Nickel. Everton still trying to challenge, and Jean-Michel Bale, unfortunately for him, has had another spill back in the field, and that's obviously caused by him trying to make a desperate charge and get up amongst the points, and unsuccessful.
Yes, I think Jean-Michel Bale possibly just trying a little bit too hard and falling down. That's the situation. See Jean-Michel right here now backing up and running again. Still seems to be charging quite hard. But I think it's getting late in the race now, so he's going to have to do something pretty special to get up there for France.
Jean-Michel Bale, a man who only knows one speed. He was a comprehensive winner. But here, back at the front, Edwin Evertson is really putting the pressure on Kurt Nickel. Nickel holding him at bay, but the rider from Holland, Evertson, is almost in the slipstream when they break to come into the corners.
Evertson really putting on the pressure now. He looked to be just sitting back there early in the race, not doing anything too special, just looking smooth, conserving his energy. I think now it's come the time where he feels good, and he's going to make a charge on
the final moto was without doubt the hardest for all riders, as the track was getting rough and the pressure starting to tell. Everton was proof of that when he unfortunately fell while challenging Nickel for the outright race lead.
He's been an outstanding rider.
Edwin Evertson down there, he was trying to get past Kurt Nickel. He seemed to get... There he is, Edwin Evertson. You can see his front wheel just twisting in the sand, and he's gone down. It's very bad luck for him.
Well, I was just mentioning that Remy van Ries has been an outstanding rider for Holland today. Edwin Everton got a non-start in an earlier moto when he had ignition problems, and there we've seen him take a big tumble.
It's definitely not Edwin Everton's day there. looking good there for the lead. I think it's Billy Liles coming into camera now in second place. So with Everton dropping out there, Billy Liles in second place, and he's not that far behind Kurt Nichols, so there's still a chance that he could get up and win this race.
And Bavowitz, number 5, also from Belgium, challenging for the lead. He's on a 250cc Yamaha. There is our leader overall at the moment, Kurt Nichols, sitting astride a KTM 500 machine. Then we see Billy Liles, and he's really being pressured there by Bavowitz. They're almost side by side, and in fact I think Bavowitz might be able to take him. Here he has. Bavowitz from Belgium has gone around and past Billy Liles. So Liles now from America relegated to 3rd spot.
Yes, I think Billy's starting to get tired on the machine. You can really see him making errors. He seems to have really lost his rhythm. So I think the Cozy Creek circuit is taking its toll on him.
Now, I think when Kurt Nichols comes under the start-finish on this occasion, he'll get the signal for 2 laps remaining. There's Bavowitz from Belgium. He is easing up considerably, a la Jean-Michel Bayle in the opening moto. He is fully aware of the gap that he has, the lead that he has, and he's just content now to nurse this machine around to the finish line for the final time. Here he comes, Kurt Nichols, and a rousing reception as he comes down to the start-finish line to receive the checkered flag. So he is the winner in his 3rd and final moto.
Kurt Nichols from Great Britain impressed with a fine win, and again Monique Bavowitz impressed in the 250cc class by finishing 2nd overall, with Americans Billy Liles 3rd and Mike LaRocco 4th. The Americans once again proved too strong by going on to record their 12th successive Motocross de Nation title.
Bavowitz in a 250 coming in 2nd place overall.
Mike LaRocco just cruising over the finish line there.
This was the first time that Motocross de Nations has been held in Australia, and was such a roaring success at the Cozy Creek circuit in Manjimup, Western Australia, that Australia has been granted a round of the World 125cc Motocross Championship at that track in late August 1993.
So by far the 3rd and final moto, the closest of the 3. Liles and LaRocco doing well for the United States with 2 second placings, Britain and Belgium getting a winner piece, and Australia doing particularly well, Marshall and Britain coming in with 13 points. Well, Billy, congratulations. A lot of pressure rested off you and your teammates.
Yeah, going into the last race, I think there were 4 teams really close, so we knew we had to make a good race to win it. It's been getting tougher and tougher every year, but it seems like when it comes down to winning, we seem to always pull it off.
A lot of the experts were saying that the United States mightn't go so well this year, with all 3 of you making your debut in Nations.
Yeah, but you can't listen to what everybody says. We all came with our hearts in the right place, and I think you can see by the way we rode, we came to take that cup back to America.
You obviously enjoyed riding around the Cozy Creek circuit.
Fantastic circuit. Probably one of the best circuits I've ridden all year.
Congratulations and good luck for next year's event.
Thanks a lot.